It was supposed to be another peaceful day at the beach. Families were relaxing under umbrellas, children were playing in the sand. But just before noon, everything changed with a single 911 call. A hotel security guard contacted the Walton County Sheriff's Office after receiving reports that a baby had been left completely alone on the beach. The caller explained that the infant appeared to be only 5 or 6 months old, and despite searching the area, no one could find the child's parents. Deputies immediately responded. When they arrived, several concerned beachgoers were already surrounding a small beach tent. Inside was a 6-month-old baby girl. She wasn't with her parents. She wasn't being watched by a family member. She was completely alone. The witnesses told deputies they had discovered the baby inside the tent and had spent the last several minutes searching the beach for her parents. They looked along the shoreline. They searched near the water. They even walked farther down the beach, hoping to find someone looking for a missing child. But no one came. One witness explained that she had overheard the parents say they were going to look for crabs with their 3 older children. At first, she assumed one of the adults had stayed behind with the baby. Then she realized something wasn't right. The tent never moved. The baby never left. And the parents never came back. Another witness estimated they had been gone for nearly an hour. Others agreed. Everyone kept expecting the family to return at any moment. Instead, strangers became the only people looking after the infant. Deputies checked on the baby immediately. She felt warm after sitting outside in the Florida heat. One deputy carefully carried her into the shade, while another continued interviewing witnesses. Despite the situation, the baby appeared calm. She smiled at the deputies. But officers knew the situation was far more serious than it looked. A 6-month-old child cannot protect herself. She cannot call for help. She cannot escape danger. And on a crowded public beach, it would take only seconds for someone to walk away with her. As more witnesses came forward, the timeline became even more alarming. Several people independently told deputies they had been watching the area for a long time. None of them had seen the parents return. One woman, who had worked on the beach for over 20 years, told deputies she had never seen anything like it. She said she waited before calling police because she couldn't believe anyone would intentionally leave a baby alone. But after enough time passed, she realized she had no choice. Someone needed to protect the child. As deputies continued gathering statements, one witness suddenly pointed down the shoreline. There they are! Everyone turned. A family of 5 was slowly walking back toward the beach setup. The missing parents had finally returned. As the family got closer, deputies walked toward them. The couple was later identified as Brian Wilkes and Sarah Wilkes, tourists from Texas who were vacationing in Florida with their 4 children. The moment the officers approached, they got straight to the point. "We received a call because your infant was left alone." The parents immediately looked shocked. The mother admitted the baby had been sleeping in the beach tent. Then came the explanation. They said their 3 older children wanted to take a short walk along the beach. The baby had fallen asleep for her usual afternoon nap. Instead of waking her, they decided to leave her inside the shaded tent while they walked with the other children. According to Brian, they never intended to be gone very long. Somehow, they simply lost track of time. Sarah insisted the baby had been protected from the sun and believed she would still be asleep by the time they returned. To them, it had been a mistake, a terrible mistake, but still, just a mistake. The deputies listened carefully. Then they explained why this wasn't just another parenting decision. A 6-month-old baby cannot be left alone, not on a public beach, not for an extended period of time, not under any circumstances. The officers also revealed something the parents didn't expect. Multiple independent witnesses had already given statements. Several people reported that the family had been gone for nearly an hour. The parents disagreed. Brian insisted they hadn't been away that long. He claimed they had only been walking nearby and believed the witnesses had simply gotten the timeline wrong. But by this point, deputies had already collected enough statements to realize the stories didn't match. As more officers arrived, paramedics were requested to examine the baby as a precaution. While waiting, deputies continued questioning the couple. Both parents remained cooperative. They denied drinking alcohol. They denied using drugs. And they repeatedly told officers they loved their children and would never intentionally put them in danger. The deputies acknowledged what they were saying, but they also reminded them of one simple reality. While they were gone, anyone could have taken the baby. Someone with bad intentions could have disappeared in seconds, or the child could have suffered a medical emergency with no one around to help. That possibility alone made the situation incredibly serious. As the investigation continued, officers escorted the family away from the crowded beach and back toward their hotel. What started as a simple conversation was quickly becoming a criminal investigation. By the time the family reached their hotel, paramedics had already finished examining the 6-month-old. Thankfully, the baby wasn't in medical distress. She appeared healthy. But that didn't change what had happened. Deputies continued gathering witness statements while supervisors reviewed the case. One witness told investigators she had been watching the family since they first arrived. She remembered the father arguing with the older children before walking away. Another witness repeated the same timeline officers had already heard several times. The parents had been gone far longer than they claimed. As the evidence came together, deputies explained the situation to Brian and Sarah. Under Florida law, leaving an infant completely unattended for an extended period could legally be considered child neglect. The issue wasn't whether the parents loved their child. The issue was that a 6-month-old baby had been left alone on a crowded public beach with no adult watching her. Deputies explained just how quickly something could have gone wrong. A stranger could have picked her up, she could have stopped breathing, she could have become dangerously overheated, and no one responsible for her would have been there to help. Brian and Sarah listened quietly. Neither argued with the officers. Instead, they admitted they had made a terrible mistake. Brian told deputies they had simply lost track of time. Sarah became emotional and repeatedly asked about the baby. She worried that her daughter had been sitting in the sun too long. One deputy, who was also a mother, reassured her that officers were doing everything they could to keep the baby comfortable while the investigation continued. Soon afterward, the Florida Department of Children and Families was contacted. Because all 4 children were traveling with the parents, investigators had to determine who would care for them if arrests were made. The couple remained cooperative as officers discussed the next steps with supervisors. Then came the decision. Deputies informed Brian and Sarah that both of them were under arrest. They would each be charged with child neglect. The atmosphere changed instantly. Brian looked stunned. He admitted he had never been arrested before. His biggest concern wasn't himself, it was his children. He asked officers what would happen to them. The deputies explained that the Department of Children and Families would temporarily care for all 4 children until relatives could travel from Texas to Florida. Sarah asked if at least one parent could stay behind with the children until family arrived. The answer was no. The decision had already been approved by supervisors. Both parents would be taken into custody. With the decision made, deputies separated Brian and Sarah so they could explain the process individually, without upsetting the children. Brian remained calm. He told officers he understood they were simply doing their job. Still, he couldn't hide his concern. He explained that his closest family lived in Texas, and that it would take many hours for anyone to reach Florida. His biggest fear wasn't spending the night in jail. It was knowing his 4 children would suddenly be without their parents. Officers assured him that the Florida Department of Children and Families was already on the way and would remain with the children until relatives arrived. When deputies spoke with Sarah, she asked if there was any way one of them could stay behind with the kids. Unfortunately, the answer was the same. The arrest could not be avoided. She was also informed that because she was breastfeeding, medical staff at the jail would assist her if necessary. As officers prepared the couple for transport, both parents stayed cooperative. There was no resistance, no arguments, no attempt to flee. The focus quickly shifted to making sure the children remained safe, while relatives traveled from Texas. Brian and Sarah were then transported to the Walton County Jail. Both were booked on charges of child neglect without great bodily harm. Meanwhile, the Florida Department of Children and Families took temporary custody of all 4 children until family members arrived to care for them. The case didn't end there. Court records later showed that both parents were accepted into a pre-trial diversion program. Instead of moving forward with a criminal prosecution, they were required to complete parenting classes, perform community service, pay court-ordered fines, and meet several additional conditions. If they successfully completed every requirement, prosecutors agreed to dismiss the case without pursuing further criminal charges. What began as a family vacation ended with 2 parents in jail, 4 children placed in temporary state care, and one decision that changed everything. The baby was physically unharmed, but the case became a powerful reminder of how quickly a single parenting decision can become a criminal investigation when a child's safety is placed at risk. Thanks for watching until the end. Feel free to send us your story. If it's selected, we'll feature it on our channel for everyone to enjoy.